Good afternoon and welcome to the Brown Bag Business Chat. Today I have two of my favorite people in the entire world joining me, Bridget Willard with You Too Can Be a Guru and Carol Stephen of Your Social Media Works. Carol, let's start with you. Tell us what you do, who you do it for, and what makes you special about the way that you deliver your services.
I handle social media mainly for startups, and they don't have to be in the San Francisco Bay Area, although that's where I am. I have clients across the United States and sometimes in other countries as well. And so I help them. I'm sort of like a ghost tweeter, ghost poster. You know, I take on the voice of whoever my client is and act as them. So sometimes they're very casual, sometimes they're more formal. Sometimes they're more scholarly. You know, it all depends on what the client wants.
Awesome, and that's so important that what you do is social media, because today we're going to talk about Twitter cards, which aren't brand new, but they're still something that a lot of people are learning about and how to use them. Our other guest today is another awesome social media person. Social media is how I met both of these ladies. And her name is Bridget Willard with You Too Can Be a Guru. So tell us about yourself, Bridget.
Hi, I'm the office manager and social media manager here at Riggins Construction, a commercial general contractor who specializes in design build. I am self-taught, and all of my opinions are based on my experience as a user.
Awesome. So we're going to kick this off talking about Twitter cards. For those of you who are not familiar, a Twitter card is basically a feature that lets you add content to your tweets. Generally, that's going to be generated from your website or from your blog. So it's some special code, which we're going to get to how to do that. Don't freak out because I said the word code. That gets added to your blog. That when someone tweets your URL, it includes an image or a video or something visual, a piece of media that people can actually see in their Twitter stream that gives them a little preview of what you have to offer in your blog post. There are different kinds of Twitter cards, so some of them we've discovered have already been deprecated by Twitter. There's summary cards, which is what we're going to talk about today. Basically, these are going to be cards that have images or some other type of media associated with them that, like I said, give you a summary of the content that you're sharing. There's also app cards and player cards. We're not going to get into those as much, but if you have an app, you should probably look into app cards. If you do a lot of video, player cards would be for you. Today we're going to focus on images. So that being said, kind of leading into why we even need these Twitter cards, Carol, can you tell me a little bit about how you tweet for yourself and your clients and how media and images have played into your strategy over the last year or so as we've seen these Twitter cards start to get really popular?
Well, sure. Most people are visual, and so that means that everything is getting more and more visual. So, for example, tweets with images get at least 18% more clicks. So for a business owner, that's really what you want. You want more clicks, you want more people looking at your, whatever it is, your offer, you want more favorites. So if you have an image, you will get 89% more favorites on Twitter. So that's also really, really important. Also 150% more retweets if you have an image attached. So it's not just on Twitter, but it's Pinterest, it's Instagram, it's Facebook. Any place you can have an image, more than likely you're going to get more traffic using an image.
One of the questions when we were getting ready for this and kind of talking to some of our clients about how they're using Twitter and Twitter cards, most of them have never really heard of a Twitter card, and a big question was, well, why would Twitter even do this? Like, Twitter's been just fine with text, and so why add these cards? And I think you nailed it, that visual content is something that people have come to expect. With Instagram and Pinterest, especially Facebook, you've seen the imagery get larger and higher quality over time. It's just a way that people expect to be communicated with. So that's a really great point, that you actually get higher engagement because of that imagery being included. And before we get too much further, I want to make a distinction between images in the Twitter feed and Twitter cards. So Bridget, is that something that maybe you can speak to a little bit, what the difference is there, just adding an image to your tweet versus actually setting up Twitter cards through your website?
Well, an image is still good, and a Twitter card can have an image, but the Twitter card is clickable. So it'll bring you back to that web post, back to that web page, back to that blog. So it's kind of your call to action. So it does get the attention like a picture, and you can have a picture too, but it's not the pic.twitter.com image.
Perfect. And it's generated in 2 different places generally.
Right.
Right. So when you're adding an image to a tweet, that's different than setting up Twitter cards, which is what you're going to show us how to do here in a little bit.
Right, and it doesn't take up your characters either.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, because you only have 140, so and 120 is better for getting shared.
Very good.
Oh, that's a good point.
And then about, when it comes to Twitter cards and images in the Twitter feed, will it do to just grab any image that maybe I've embedded in my blog post? Or what's the best way to approach choosing imagery for a Twitter card? Are there sizes that work better than others from your experience, or does it really matter? Just as long as you have an image, that's going to be so much better than just the plain text tweets that it doesn't matter?
I have it set up so it just grabs the featured image that I'm using for my blog post. So if you've thought that out well enough, then that's what's going to grab their attention when they're on your blog. It's going to be about the same for Twitter. That's what I would say.
Okay. And so would you say that larger is better than smaller then? Is that...
You want it to be kind of wide, and that's probably better for a blog anyway. So maybe like an 800 by 300. I'm not a graphic designer. This is how I describe how it should be, but like this. So I don't know, about 800 pixels-ish, like when I'm on Canva, which I use primarily now. I pick their blog post title format size.
Perfect.
So,
what size that is?
That seems to be working, so we're not going to...
Awesome. And so, Bridget, if you would be so kind to talk to us about how you've added this Twitter card functionality to your own site. So, like we said, it's not necessarily something that's going to happen automatically. It does take a little bit of setup work. And for anybody watching, we're going to focus on WordPress today because that's what we know and that's what we do, and we love WordPress. There are ways to do it outside of WordPress, and if you have questions about that, you can certainly leave them in the comments, and we'll do what we can to help you. But we're going to focus on WordPress today. So, Bridget.
Of course, WordPress. I mean, this is what makes it awesome, is the automaticalness of things, right? I mean, nobody wants to do extra work, right? So, I'm using JM Twitter cards. I'm sure somebody uses Yoast or something else. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
I can't see the Hangout. Okay. So I'm using summary below large image, which if you see this post, it takes the featured image that I already have there, and it gives you a preview of what it's going to look. It grabs the text from my excerpt. So I wrote the excerpt text, and then you can see if it's going to fit or not, character-wise. So you know exactly what this is going to look like. So if I go to this actual blog post and live tweet it, which they've asked me to do, so I am ready to do that. Fix those cracks! Hashtag epoxy.
And you'll notice that when Bridget tweets something, she's put in some returns in. That makes her tweet a little bigger still.
Yeah,
so
because
that's something that's important to note.
Oh, that's an awesome point. And Carol, I hate to ask this question because it's going to make me sound kind of stupid, but do those returns count as characters in your tweet, or can you?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
They do. So if you are looking for a little extra space and you're retweeting something, you can take out those returns.
Okay, but they're only one character.
The characters going down, down, down as I hit return. I mean, you don't want it to be like that, but it's easier to read because here's the thing. People don't read, they scan.
Exactly.
Sorry. So when you're looking at the Twitter feed, blurb, 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 it will say view summary, but you can see how wide it is, right? It's 4 lines. When you click view summary, then all of a sudden it's, I don't know, 10, 6 inches. I'm not, like I said, I'm not good with space, but it's big. I
Yeah,
mean,
look how large that is.
look how large it is in comparison. And then let me screen share my Chrome browser. Now I'll show you what it looks like, because I learned how to do this from my friend Heather. What it looks like on the feed on a mobile device. So it's still pretty big.
Pretty cool.
It's pretty big. So you're competing. See, people are just scanning. That most people are on their phones and they just see these little logos if they don't recognize it. But then when something comes up and it's big, then it's more obvious. So it's not, super awesome, but it's better than not having any eyeballs at all. So that's kind of, you're competing for that space. It goes from being maybe an inch in the feed on desktop. That's desktop, not mobile, to 4 to 6 inches. And so that picture is just going to grab you. I think that it's better. I'm getting more clicks, I think.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
I have my analytics, but
And I
say
just
it's
wanted
there.
to say that there's another thing you can do, and that is you can pin your image to the top of your feed. So when
Right.
someone comes to see your profile, there might be some, buy my shoes, or, fix your epoxy. You can pin that to the very top, and then that'll give you, it's like a twofer.
Right.
That'll be the first thing that people see, and then they'll see that image, and you're more likely to get clicks.
Awesome. So when y'all are using Twitter and you're scrolling through and quickly looking to see what's new and what people have been saying, how often are you clicking on the view summary button? Do you find yourself doing that very often to actually expand and see that Twitter card? What's your behavior like on Twitter?
That's a great question. If I see a really compelling headline, like I want to know more about it, and it's just a little headline, then I will click on it so I can see the image, and then I might click through. I might not, but I might click through then.
Right. Plus, it gives you an opportunity to have an alternate headline. In the tweet I just did, I said, "Fix those cracks. Water is bad inside of your building." Right. So that's like something to go, "Hey, look at me, look at me," and then my actual text is still there too. So not only are you getting an image without having to be penalized character-wise, but you're getting your headline and you're getting summary. So you're getting a lot of extra reasons. I mostly live on my lists, so obviously it's somebody I really want to look at their tweet, so yes, I'm clicking. So
Well, I look in search too, and with that extra space, you might want to put in an extra hashtag.
there
So
you
she
go.
might put in, hashtag epoxy, for example,
Yeah.
and some people will find you that way.
Yeah, that's a really good point too, to use that extra space for those hashtags, because I'm bad about creating my own list. So I use search all the time to try to remember where I saw something, or I know I need to look at information about this, so let me pull up a search and find that. So that is a very good point. So what about using a Twitter card versus just putting the image into your tweet? Do you think that one or the other has more value? Obviously, it takes a little bit longer to set up the Twitter cards. You've got to install the plugin. You've got to configure your post to actually include that image in the excerpt. What would you say about the actual value of it versus just including an image or a video in your tweet?
Well, just super quickly, once you set up that plugin, that's it. You don't do it anymore. You can set it to default to the summary with the card, and then every time you write a blog post, if you have a featured image in an excerpt, which you're going to want anyway for Google and everybody, then it's just already done. But
Well,
an
I'd say,
image, like an image could have a different purpose. Like when I go to the job site, this is what the project looks like right now. Doesn't necessarily have to go to a blog post.
That's true. What about you, Carol?
Well, I'd say just from a time management perspective, we're all busy. If you can set it up once and forget it, that's great. And we're all super busy. So, like Bridget said, that's one benefit. Another huge benefit is that it's free, except for just the time that it takes you to set it up. That's a word that people really love, is free. And if it can get you more clicks, that will get you more business, more eyeballs on your website. All of those are really positive.
And I would add in too, the whole idea of blogging is you want people to share that content. You're not doing it just because it's a good practice to dump everything you know onto the page. You're hopefully getting shares and people are promoting that content on your behalf. So with Twitter cards set up, you're saying, this is how I want this link shared. This is exactly how I want it to look when someone shares it. So you get to take back some of that control and be in charge of how that looks when people are sharing the link to your site, which I think is invaluable. And then you're taking their action and multiplying the benefit of that by doing all the things you said, setting up the excerpt, setting up the image, creating the text that's going to be shared so that it's formatted in the way that you want it to with the right hashtags and all of that. So I think it's definitely a worthwhile thing and something that we'll definitely be watching our analytics closely and our clients' analytics closely to see what kind of difference it's making and how much traffic's being driven back to the website, and are we seeing more shares on those types of posts and that sort of thing. Have either of you taken a deep look at your analytics on if you are getting more click-throughs? I know, Bridget, you said you felt like you had, but you didn't necessarily have the numbers on it personally. Click-throughs where you're using those Twitter cards, or if you're seeing more shares on those posts?
Well, it opens up another section of analytics. And then just really quickly, because I do have that prepared to share, but remember, Google is indexing tweets now. And I read from Pan Marketing, they're filed some kind of patent to use social signals or something like that. So if it's shareable, it's going to be good for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
But just quickly, I can show you when I click on the green thing. Just a moment. Your call is important to us. Share. Okay, so you can see when I installed the Twitter card. It's super obvious, right? So in your analytics, you have the home screen, and it tells you your top tweet, your top mention, your top follower, your top media tweet, and your top card tweet.
No, this is your Twitter analytics. This is
analytics.twitter.com.
Okay.
So you can see how many times somebody's visiting your profile or whatever. So, I mean, obviously it's giving you more information. And so you can see that this is a steep, 45-degree angle as far as tweets go. And the impressions are also up.
Wow.
So by 280%.
Mm-hmm.
So also, it will tell you what kind, but obviously I'm only using summary card. And then it will tell you the top links, over whatever period of time. It defaults to the last 28 days. It also tells you, which is even cooler, is who your influencers are and what their tweets are. So here's Carol, and this is what she's tweeted. And so if you're not already looking at your notifications, which you should be, then you can see who are your top 5 or top 10 stars, because you can go in and start thanking those people. And then it'll tell you your top tweets. So this is invaluable information, and your sources. So you can see that from Hootsuite or Tweet Old Post, which is a plugin I'm using, or MiniDeck, which is a scheduling tool that shortens my link. It doesn't matter if my links are shortened or not. I don't get penalized. It tells you how many times things have been clicked, and then you can see what the tweets are. See, I'm using Bitly, so I know that these 3 tweets had 17 clicks, whereas before, I don't have that information at all available to me. So you're opening up the availability to get information from Twitter as well as making it more visible, etc., blah, 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 everything we've said for the last 20 minutes.
That's awesome. So, Carol, do you have anything to add to that about how you're using analytics with yourself or your clients, or any other tips on using what's available there?
I was trying to think of what a downside might be for using Twitter cards, and I can't see any except that there's should be even more emphasis on creating a compelling headline. So it might be like a really short, like for Bridget, maybe something like "got cracks" or something like that. That would make that would make people more likely to click.
Yeah.
So it's just those first few words are going to be much more important. So the first 3 or 4 words for your SEO, those are the words that you're going to really need to emphasize. So put your most important words from an SEO standpoint right at the beginning, so people are more likely to click.
Awesome. So that plugin again that you're using, Bridget, is called
JM Twitter Cards. It's free.
And it's in the WordPress repository,
Oh
correct?
yeah, because I took a class from Heather at WordCamp. It said only get stuff that's highly rated and highly downloaded in the WordPress repository.
There are lots of other great plugins, but if you're not familiar with how to evaluate them, that's a
If
great
you're
way.
like me and you're new, don't just trust the stuff that's there. Like, don't try doing crazy stuff unless you have somebody you can trust. I mean, a lot of us are DIYing our websites, right? So we're doing our own blogging or whatever. So maybe we don't have a WordPress geek at the tip of our hands like I do with you. So, just there should be a tiny bit of fear.
And by the way, there are videos on how to install and the different settings that you might want to use. So you can just go and search, just go and Google JM Twitter card, and you'll find videos and you'll find lots of information on the different settings.
Okay, great. So that's the same plugin that you're using as well, Carol.
Right.
Okay, perfect. And we use Yoast SEO for our analytics, or I'm sorry, for our SEO, and it also has built-in the same capabilities. So if you're already using the Yoast plugin for your SEO, then you can switch over to the Twitter tab and basically do the exact same thing, define the image and the summary, or let it just automatically pull from your featured image and your meta description in this case, and it will populate that for you as well. So I'm sure there's lots of other plugins out there. There's also, if you're still running an old HTML site, you can do a search on the Twitter developers website and find the code that you need to add to your pages so that it knows what image to use and what text to use for the excerpt. So you're not completely out of luck. You just have to find a developer or go in there and plug it in yourself. And if you're using a different content management system, then I don't know what you're thinking anyway. Just switch to WordPress and you'll be fine. So any parting thoughts about this new visual aspect? I say new. It's been for about the past year that you're able to add these visual aspects to Twitter, how people should be using that, maybe some things that we haven't thought of to take advantage of having this new capability in our tweets. Any last-minute advice?
Well, anything that can make it simpler for your followers, like if there's 1 less click or 2 less clicks, that's going to make it easier. So if they can click right through your Twitter card to buy your shoes or to get in touch with you, to sign up for your webinar, whatever it is, this is going to make it a lot simpler.
So what I'm hearing is targeted content is better than just setting up a Twitter card for your homepage and using that over and over and over.
Oh, yeah, no.
Sending people directly to a product or a specific blog post or a page with a really strong call to action is going to be much more valuable use of your time.
Right. For a business, that's what they want. They want people to just click right through and sign up for their webinar or buy their product.
If it's too hard, people won't do it. You got to remember, most people don't really know what they're doing. They're just on Twitter on their phone or whatever. and they happen to see something, and maybe they'll share it, maybe they won't, maybe they'll favorite it for later. Who knows? Who knows what people are going to do? But you do have to make it easy. But the other thing I was thinking is a lot of marketing people are really into like A/B testing. So might be a good way to test your headlines.
Oh yeah, especially with that extra analytics that you get from Twitter, and we'll have to do a whole nother show on how to set up A/B testing on your WordPress.
Oh, I would love that.
That would be a really good one. So
it's not my forte. I just keep changing the headline if I don't like it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, ladies. I think we covered it pretty well, what Twitter cards are, why you should use them. Hopefully we'll start to see a lot more people implementing Twitter cards on their WordPress site and sharing nice, rich media on Twitter. So real quick, before we wrap up here, let's start with you, Carol, and then Bridget. Tell us where we can find you, how we can follow you, and if people have more questions, how they can get in touch.
Okay, I'm at Your Social Media Works, or I'm at Carol_Stephen, STEPHEN, on Twitter. So you can find me there, and on Facebook, Your Social Media Works.
I'm Bridget Willard of BridgetWillard.com. And you can find me at You2CanBeGuru, because Twitter wouldn't let me have an extra character for the A.
I always wondered about that.
So annoying, Twitter! Give me one more character, please.
And I'm Heather Steele with Blue Steel Solutions. You can find us at Blue Steel, STEELETX, on Twitter, or Blue Steel Solutions on Facebook. Thanks so much for hanging out with us and learning about Twitter cards, and we will catch you next time on the Brown Bag Business Chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.